I'd like to welcome everybody this afternoon to our webinar. This one's entitled Farmer to Consumer Direct Marketing. And we've got a couple of really good guests today. I think you're going to enjoy the discussion. First of all, I want to start out with who we are. My name is Steve Becker, and I'm with CCS, or Central Confinement Services, here in Columbus, Nebraska. We're a general contractor, and we serve primarily the egg industry, cattle, hog, dairy, and poultry facilities, but are also building in the commercial and industrial area too. So keep this in mind if you have a construction project in the near future. So I know we want to get after the webinar today. So let me give a quick introduction here to our two guests. The first one is Esch VanDeWalle. Esch is from Ord, Nebraska. He and his sister own the Ord Locker in Ord, Nebraska, and they're a custom meat processing business. Esch is received his bachelor's in science from UNL and also his master's from UNL. He was a member of the UNL judging team, meat judging team, and then also was a meat judging coach there too, and went on to coach the SDSU meat judging team for a few years. So Esch, it's good to have him on board. The other participant today is Hannah Esch. Hannah is a recent graduate from the University of Nebraska. So recent, I think she just graduated this month. She's also the founder of Oak Barn Beef. Oak Barn Beef focuses on connecting producers and consumers by selling premium family farm beef directly to the consumers across the United States. They just celebrated their second birthday and have been enjoyed by customers from all 50 states. So a side note here, Hannah's also excited she'll be joining the Central Confinement team here in Columbus. And so we thought we'd start out with a webinar on our first day. So Hannah, welcome. You need to unmute, I think.
Thank you.
Good. And Esch, are you ready to go?
We're ready. Glad to be here.
Good. Well, welcome. So I think I'll start out with Esch. Esch, talk a little bit about your business, and then what motivated you to get into that business?
A little bit about the business. We're Ord. We're up here, Central Nebraska. We're just custom meat processors, what we are. We have a custom exempt retail business as we've grown quite a bit in 5 years. We've owned the facility since 2015. And we're currently doing 10 to 12 beef a week with roughly a 21-day dry age hang on them. And now trying to do as many pigs as we can. We normally don't do that many pigs this time of year until we hit fair season, but doing a lot of pigs right now. We got about 8 or 9, for the most part, pretty much full-time employees. Hopefully we can find some more when we get to the new place. What got me into this, a little different than most guys or individuals out there that own lockers. I grew up raising cattle, farming, ranching, putting up hay in the summer. Of course, Dad beat my head. There's an easier life out there. Go get college educated. And I was scared to go to college. Started off at Northeast Community College and realized college wasn't that bad. Was on the livestock judging team there. A couple of them teachers said you should transfer to UNL. So way to UNL I went. Not knowing anything about the meat side. I was going to do animal science something, maybe rumen nutrition or something, but I had to take an animal products 210 class. Dr. Dennis Burson come in one day and asked if anybody wanted to join the meat judging team. I judged livestock, didn't know anything about meat yet at that point, and said, you bet, we'll go judge it. Then after that, the rest is kind of history. Enjoyed it. Started working at the UNL Meat Lab. Dr. Roger Manigo, Dr. Chris Calkins, Dr. Steve Jones, and Dr. Burson all really influenced me a bunch, got me excited about the meat industry. And I just found a passion for the whole meat side of things. And so when you're chasing a bachelor's and a master's degree out there, they're for jobs, you're thinking you're gonna go off and work for the big companies, make your big 6-figure salary, and it's gonna really pay off with that beating in my head of go get educated so you don't have to work as hard as I do and it's easier. Love the teaching side. Started coaching the meat judging team down there, coached the 08 and 09 team. Enjoyed that. So realized I needed to have a PhD to keep teaching at a university. Headed to South Dakota State to get that. And I already been in college a while. Still loved teaching up there. Loved every chance I had to teach classes, but I hit my wall. I was done as far as the classes and the research went. But kind of about the same time, some family stuff happened. We lost my mom to cancer. Dad's hip kind of went out. So I went back home to calve the 200 head of cows we have. And after being there for a year, realized I don't think I'm going to leave this state no more and go chase this big job I was going to go do. What am I going to do? And the farm and ranch side, it wasn't quite big enough. I seen the writing on the wall. I still own a bunch, probably too many cows right now for what I'm trying to do with the Locker deal, but was trying to figure out what I was supposed to do. I was just doing day work for folks here and there on the side. And out of the blue, some guys from Ord that I went to college with called me and said, Larry Freehoff is going to sell the Ord Locker. What are you doing? I said, well, I'll come look. And with that, I called the sister that had been managing a Hy-Vee deli in Lincoln for about 7 years down in Old Cheney. She was looking to get out of Lincoln. And told her, I looked at it first and knew there's opportunity in this thing, and told her to come back for a second look, and I'd bring her on board if she wanted to, half of it. And if she liked it enough, she could stay, and we try to build a new one someday. But if she hated it and realized this meat business wasn't for her, I'd buy her out or whatever, and I'd see if I wanted to try it without her being involved. But we hit the ground running April 2015. There was a learning curve. We didn't have any employees. It was just the two of us. But as we grew, we started adding employees, and we got the old building. We call her the old girl. She's maxed out to what she probably should be doing. And we're really looking forward to getting to the new facility, hopefully first part of July.
Great. And that's a great story, Ace. Glad it's working out so far. We'll talk a little bit about that, your adventure in construction here a little later on, but let's talk to Hannah just a little bit. And Hannah, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then what got you into this business?
I started Oak Barn Beef 2 years ago when I was a full-time college student at UNL studying animal science, and I was really involved with the Angler Entrepreneurship Program, which was on campus, and they're really focused on the hands-on entrepreneurship. And so through their support, and I decided I wanted to start a business, but I wasn't sure what exactly yet. So I was also the Nebraska Cattlewoman Beef Ambassador that year. And so I traveled across the state and talked to youth about where beef comes from and talked to concerned consumers about cattle raising practices. And when a third grader from a rural community told me that eggs come from cows because they're next to the milk in the grocery store, I realized the huge just educational gap between producers and consumers, and that people really do want to feel connected to where their food comes from. So this was the business idea, and I brought it back to our family. We had been selling wholes, halves, and quarters like a lot of ranchers do, but decided we wanted to narrow it down just a little bit more into smaller bundles so that people in the cities are able to purchase this, and decided that we really wanted to differentiate our product as a premium product. So all of our cattle are DNA tested through Neogen in Lincoln, and we look for their tenderness gene, marbling gene, ribeye area size, and a lot of other carcass traits to guarantee quality from the beginning. So only the top percentage of our that reach those requirements move into our beef program. And then our local butchers also dry age the beef for a premium aspect too. But all of it is shipped directly from our family farm or delivered in the local areas to consumers. So by putting a face to the farmer, I kind of feel like I'm helping educate and fill the gap and providing a premium product with that.
Yeah, sounds great, Hannah. So do all of the animals come from your family farm?
They did up until this year, and we're actually working with a few other family farms who have also focused on those DNA testing traits. So we work with other families that meet the requirements to go into our beef program.
Okay, good, good. Ace, where do your animals come from in your operation?
Anywhere from local guys, 3 minutes outside of town, to I got customers an hour and a half away that make the drive. Further west in Nebraska, you go. It's an hour and a half drive's not much to go somewhere, but there's even some that come 2 hours away to me for all the custom side of things. But local guys to a decent ways away. I mean, I'm from Northeast Nebraska, Antelope County, originally, Orchard, and so I've taken some of them customers that direction since they know me. They make the hour and a half drive over, and every year more and more have come this way.
It sounds like you're building a nice client base. So Ace, talk a little bit about, are there any permitting, inspections or things that you have to go through, or what do you have to go through?
Mine, to build this new facility, probably wasn't as hard as it might be in some areas. I mean, I think you need to check with your EPA and everything like that. But as far as sewage and everything, we're going into the city. And so we wouldn't have to build a lagoon or anything like that, or do any bigger pumping. Oh, you can put giant tanks in the ground and pump them every so often or whatever. But I'm lucky. Ord was on board with me building it. There was a little bit of talk at first of, you know, can we put a facility like this into, can we keep going to the sewage system for the city? And I jokingly told him, I'm like, if you let me build this thing, we're going to have the right traps and everything compared to what this old thing is. I'm like, if you don't have a problem with me now, there'll be less going down that sewer system in the new facility. And they've been on board. We got a really good economic development, Valley County Economic here in town, that really helps small businesses get going and started. And they don't shy away from new business for the most part. And something like this, they were really behind from the get-go. And so as far as permits for that, nothing I really had to look into on that side. But again, my area, it's probably your local area of what the regulations are, different options to do, etc.
Okay, talk a little bit about any regulations or processes you have to go through just in the meat production.
So I'm custom exempt now, and so, which means everything we process is the person like Hannah used to sell quarters, halves, half a pig, etc. You can get down into eighths and call it a bundle, I suppose. None of us really like cutting eighths and dividing them up very much, but so we are inspected. They come through once, twice a year. They look at our facility, write you up where need be, tell you to fix this or that, and look at the paperwork we take, because we're retail custom exempt as well. And so I'm allowed to sell anything, make hot dogs, Polish sausage, brats, whatever I want out of my facility, as long as I'm buying in USDA inspected product, which box beef from the big boys is where it comes in at. Cashway is my distributor. That's the only one I'm using. I'm going to look into some different ones when I get in the new place as well. But Cashway stuff comes in on Fridays. We can make whatever we want out of that as long as we sell it through our place. And there is paperwork to take. We got to take temps and some cooling temps and everything. But they come through there once or twice a year, check us out, really don't give us too much of a headache, really, and make sure we're keeping some decent records. With the new place, we will eventually become USDA federally inspected. I was hoping to already have the paperwork started on that, but this whole COVID thing kind of got this thing a little crazy, and I've been on the phone for the last 4 weeks, to where I finally got a gal hired to answer the phone most of the day and take messages, and I work off my cell phone to try to get back to people and stuff. So there's still paperwork to get that done, to where things are happening fast here. I'm in discussions. There's companies out there that will set up your HACCP plans for you, then charge you a monthly fee. And there's one called We Are Food Safe. A lot of different lockers in Nebraska use it. I've talked to them all about it, and they always tell you it's the best money investment I've ever spent. The people that own that or started it our old past USDA inspectors to the highest level of the USDA. And so they really know their stuff, and they take some weight off our shoulders of keeping up on everything. I'm fully trained to do it. My training was from Dennis Burson. I taught HACCP classes while at UNL at South Dakota State. And so part of me financially doesn't want to pay another company $8,000 to get this started, but time and efficiency to get this going so we are inspected sooner. I'm really starting to lean towards it. And all these guys that have ran it with them for a year, they say they just love it. I mean, they're there to back you up. If you really have a problem with the USDA, they'll go to battle for you. And when the new regulations come out, they're always on the forefront of it. It just helps take pressure off a business owner or a person. It'd be different some days if I was only in the office all day long until we truly find more help and probably get 4 or 5 years into this. I'm probably a guy that's on the floor half the time yet, cutting and everything. And so there are programs out there to really help with inspection. Extension programs at universities. Dr. Dennis Burson's at UNL. He's retiring here in June, but he was a go-to guy. I think Dr. Gary Sullivan will take over for him, but there's other universities out there that help with stuff. There's a guy in Wyoming called 307 Meats. He just built a brand new 9,000 plus square foot facility. And he's in Wyoming, and he was having an extension person down in Texas, help him write his plan. But even then, he was in discussions with me of what I heard about We Are Food Safe, because he was kind of getting held up and this and that. And I don't know how he got it done. He's inspected now, but whether he finally hired the food safe company or not, I don't know.
Well, it's good to know that there's help out there if you need it. Hannah, are there any inspections or things that you have to go through in your process?
Yeah, our butchers have the most regulations around them. So in order to sell our products, we have to be USDA inspected butcher or use a USDA inspected butcher. So we are using Ord Locker company out of Diller, Nebraska right now, which is about an hour-and-a-half drive. We have a locker that's 2 miles away from us, but they're only state inspected and not USDA, so we're not able to use them, which is unfortunate. But so as long as it's USDA inspected and all of the fabrication and packaging is done there, then I bring it back to my farm to store in our freezer. And we have an intermittent food vendors permit, which allows just a county health inspector to come out once a year and inspect to make sure everything is being stored correctly. But other than that, those are our biggest regulations. Okay,
good. In your retail business, are there certain cuts of meat that you prefer, and any reason for that?
For us, the best thing that we can do is bundle our products. So we are getting a whole animal back from the butcher. And so it's hard if people only want to purchase the ribeyes and we're stuck with a lot of ground beef. So by bundling, which is just a variety package of like 12 to 25 pounds with the different cuts in there, we're able to manage inventory a lot better that way. I would say the favorite cuts are going to be the filet mignons. Tri-tips are getting to be very popular. Ribeyes and those higher quality steaks are normally what we sell out of to start with.
Okay, great. Back to Ace. Do you have any preferred cuts, or are there any products maybe that you've developed that have worked well for you?
Oh, kind of the same line along with Hannah. The retail side, we grew it. When I bought the place, we were only selling, the old owner had backed it off till he was selling bacon and hamburger, is all he was doing. To where we've grown it, we've got pretty extensive retail stuff, but it's your main items, your ribeyes. We sell a lot of ribeyes. I buy in Chairman's Reserve, so it's an upper 2/3 choice. And I try to get the light ribeye rolls if I can, so I can still cut a good inch and 1/8 steak, and we're still looking at like a 16-ounce serving or less. But I wet age that stuff a good 50, 60 days before I cut them. And this took a little while to get that going, but that's kind of caught on pretty good here. And we sell a lot of ribeyes. We do strips. I'm big on, me and the sister try to find things we got 2 grocery stores in town. So we try to be a little different. We are an extra stop. I've got this country introduced to the tri-tips Hannah was talking about, to where people are starting to love them. They're a very underrated piece. They're fabulous. Flank steaks, skirt steaks, something different. Our grocery stores here don't carry them. It's just getting people to try that new cut that they've never heard of, and then tell them how to cook it and prepare it. And usually once they do, they get on board with it. One of the, probably, they're not even that strange, but we make a thing called Korean short ribs. We sell them as well as if you're getting a beef cut, you can get them made. I learned about them at South Dakota State in a cooking class we did with this introductory meat class where they had to make stuff from different countries. And Korean short ribs, it's the best part of the short rib, sliced real thin. You marinate it in brown sugar, soy sauce, garlic, ginger, some other things, and grill them quick. And they're a salty, fatty, sweet snack. And I mean, once people try them, 95% of people like them. But it's finding them different things. I get asked a lot about the flat iron. I do. We don't have any on hand right now. We're selling. If you get a beef cut, we can go after the flat iron. I then got to make you a boneless chuck. I charge a little bit more to do that because it takes a little more time to pull that chuck apart boneless in my current setting than it does just to run that thing across the saw where it ends up in a chuck roast. But we can make any cut the old UNL got figured out there. And so you get customers that ask about it, the terrace major, petite tender and stuff. And for some of them, they go after it. When some of them, you tell them you have to have boneless chuck roast, they nope, they like the bone in them, so you don't go after them type of things. But if they can, with my background, if they can think of a meat question, and if I can't figure it out, I got somebody else I can call or text, and friends that are smarter than me, way smarter than I was, to figure out different stuff. But it's just building that relationship and getting them to try different things and being able to do it when they're asking, you know, I've heard of this thing. Well, by the time they describe it to me, usually we figure out what they're thinking about. But
Yeah, that sounds really good. So you provide, do you communicate different recipes?
Yes, I help them there. That's one thing we like to do with the new place, grow that a little more to where we don't have a very big online presence besides Facebook. And I ain't gonna lie to you, we're so busy, we don't have time to be up to date on it as we should. We'd like to grow that a little more to where maybe eventually I just have to, that's be part of somebody's job of they got so many hours a week to keep this Facebook thing going. We don't have a website yet. We have the ordlocker.com solidified once we get that going, but being able to put stuff out there like that to help people to where I can go, hey, just go here, look at this, try these 4 different things. But as of right now, if somebody's wanting a certain recipe and I can't figure it out or can't talk them through it, we live in a day of text messaging. I do it on Saturdays, weekends. People text me on Saturday night of how to cook this tri-tip, and I talk them through it and shoot them some ideas and pick up the phone on a Sunday if they need to. So
that all sounds really good. So packaging and labeling, Hannah, do you do anything special in your packaging?
We do have private labels packaging. So they have to have the USDA button on them in order for us to resell. But the biggest thing is we can't make any claims on the label unless they've been proven by the USDA. So this is a lot of paperwork process. We actually haven't gone through this process. We just have our logo on there and have kept it simple that way. I know Ace probably knows a little bit more about the requirements there, but just in my experience, we've just tried to keep it simple. All of our cuts are vacuum sealed and have our private label on there.
Okay, Ace,
what up on top of that?
Good.
Yeah, she nailed it. And I haven't dealt with it too much yet. I get in this new place, we will, because everybody needs a label and certain stuff. And there's guidelines out there. And most time you got to send it off to the government to get it approved with anything you do. And yeah, it's got to be factual, truthful stuff where it can't be on there. And that's a process. How long it takes, I don't know. But I mean, as far as a basic label, usually that's always the general thing. Try to keep it simple. It'll go through, etc. As far as that goes. But I think like Hannah, she goes to Dealer Locker and they do a good job. They got their label machine, 10-pack, about to order one. Towards a company, they're either out of Minnesota or Wisconsin, something like that. Great company to work with. A lot of guys in Nebraska use them, but they make great looking labels. They can help you with whatever you want, design something. They're vibrant, colorful, they stick out, they stand out, they look good on the package. That's one of the main reasons we're going to use them. Every time you see someone that's used their stuff, you notice the package. And as far as the retail side or anything like that, people like it to look good. I mean, we have a general labeler now. I'm probably going to use that on a lot of custom stuff yet, but for the specialty stuff and our retail stuff going forward, you got to be able to put a good label on it. And packaging, we do both in the current place. We still paper wrap. We do vac packaging as well. We'll probably do more vac packaging in the new place with some equipment we got. And it's wrapping paper is an art. And when your paper wrapper goes down, your main wrapper's out for 3 or 4 days and nobody else can do it as good as her or him. You can plug and chug anybody on the backpack machine as far as the labor standpoint. But I'm out here in central Nebraska where I have a lot of customers that when they ask how I'm going to package it, I figured out after a while, I just thought they were wanting backpack and tired of the paper wrap, but it's actually opposite out here. For a lot of them on the custom side are still wanting the paper wrap. They like it better, which I'm on board with. So I tell them you got to take care of that backpack. You use that in the freezer and throw it around too much. All it takes is a pinhole for that to lose its seal. And then maybe it should have just been paper wrap. But as far as if I was dealing with a customer like Hannah and Oak Barn Beef, I'm probably going to push you towards vacuum packaging. It looks good. We're visual people. We like to see what we're buying. They get their cooler from Hannah when she ships it to them. They open it up and they can see the ribeye steak. They see the chuck roast. And as long as it looks good and pretty in the package, they're happy with that. And then put a good looking label on it to boot.
Yeah, I'd add quality control for that too. I like to see the cuts before they go out. And so if it's in the butcher wrap, I'm not able to see them all and make sure that they are as quality as I think. So that is also a good point for people who are looking to start doing it themselves.
Yeah. We eat with our eyes. We like it to look good.
Right.
We might cut slower in my place than some other places as far as how many beef can you do in a day. I'm no longer the main guy in a saw. I've had a guy running the saw making the main cuts for me for a year now. We kind of fast tracked him and he's probably even more OCD than me. We just got to get him a little bit faster, but it's big. I sleep so easy when he's doing it because I go, no matter what, it looks good when it goes in the package. Because I get compliments all the time of, I get a lot of people out there don't like chuck roast. So why don't you like a chuck roast? Well, they just have like a third of them fat. Well, not if we as butchers do our job and trim that thing down and make it look pretty. We might end up a little more trim to you. Maybe you don't have quite as many pounds of chuck roast to sell, but the consumer really likes it. I mean, I get a lot of compliments on, they're glad I don't get a steak that has a half-inch thing of fat on it. We trim tight. I'd rather have the customers complain there's not enough fat left on their steaks than the ones that, why is there too much fat on it? Then I can always go make a note on theirs and go, hey, they want a 1/4 inch fat left, leave it.
Yeah, very good. So both of you work with, I'm just going to say the public. You've got customers, some old customers, some new customers. So my question is, what is probably the most challenging thing on the retail side that you've found in your experience? Let's start with Ace.
Most challenging retail side. Oh, you stumped me there.
Well, we can go to Hannah.
Go to Hannah. Let me think about that one for a bit.
All right.
I think the most challenging is just how many hats you have to wear. So specifically, we have a lot of customer service aspects. So I could be out in the cattle pen and get a customer calling me on my cell phone, and I'm trying to give them my full attention while still doing the other task. And so that's always the challenge, is trying to do the best I can in the customer service realm while doing all the other things. And I don't know exactly when they're going to call, but that's been a priority in our business, especially, is try to offer the best customer service as we can, because we've all had those bad experiences with companies and you don't want to go back there. So that's kind of what we've been trying to do, but it is a challenge just being the owner and all of these other hats.
Any thoughts, Ace? Or
yeah, I probably got something. I've kind of the retail thing kind of got turned over to the sister. She's kind of in charge of it, but it's that customer service, and to us, it's a consistency thing. So she's in charge. So I've trained her. So, I mean, she had I forget whatever college degree she got from UNK, but luckily she'd been trained by Hy-Vee for 7 years. And so she had some meat knowledge. I remember her giving me heck when I was in grad school of why do you guys why do you meat scientists make such junky, cheap, crappy ham and water products and stuff like that? I'm like, because people will buy it for $1.99 a pound, won't they? But I trained her how to make all the processed meats. And going forward, it's a consistency thing. Like until we get another person trained where we can completely know, because I can't give you a recipe and go, okay, we're making hot dogs today. You need to add this much meat, this ingredients, this much water. I may add 8 pounds of water to this batch today. Tomorrow, I may have to add 10. So it's having that one person that our processed meats products that we make are as consistent as can be, because we like to eat the same thing all the time. Our customers want to come back knowing that bacon should taste the same, that hot dog's going to taste the same. When it comes to the fresh meat cuts, it's my guy taking care of that, making sure it looks good. They're not opening something. And we got our crew trained that when they're packaging stuff, and most of our retail stuff we sell is all vac packaged. And so even if one slips by that they vac pack one and me and the sister are going to sell to somebody, bring it out of the freezer, we got a tray in there, it's a box, it goes to our freezer, we eat it, we feed the crew. I mean, if it don't look up to par, we don't send it out. Unless that runs other thing, the retail side of trying to predict what you need going into certain big weekends on not running out of brats. Like we just missed our biggest brat selling weekend here, Memorial Weekend, because we literally couldn't get any pork trim in to make brats from Cashway. But it's just trying to pick the big times and making sure you got product. You just hate turning somebody away. Most people are understanding, I'm out of product right now, but it's trying to always have enough of what they want. But sometimes you never can. I mean, it's hit and miss. You'll go 2 weeks without selling many brats, and then all of a sudden everybody must decide it was brat time, and you thought you had plenty and you're out by Thursday that week, and you could have sold twice as many on Friday. But
Good. Let's talk a little bit about promoting your products and your services. Esch, you touched on it a little earlier, but why don't you talk just a little bit about promotion and what your company does?
As far as promotion, I'm lucky. We haven't really had to do much. We have stayed more than busy without really having to advertise much and let people know we're out here. Now, I'm lucky. I started out with the owner I bought the facility from. He had a pretty good reputation in the area. He truly did. He had a lot of local loyal customers that have been coming to him for quite a few years. And so, yeah, when you come in and the new guy takes over, everybody's a little bit worried. What's the new guy know? Can he do any good? What's he going to do? And so it was easing into them customers, doing a lot of phone conversations with them. I'm still the guy you'll talk to 95% of the time when I take cutting instructions. It's getting to be a lot of phone time for me, but until we got another person I have fully trained up for that, it's probably going to be me. But Facebook, I mean, I tried some radio stuff and some paper stuff here in the local area. Nobody ever walked in my door for Father's Day and heard I had a good deal on ribeyes. They seen a Facebook post or word of mouth, a friend told them. So a lot of word of mouth promotion, from people that were finding me to cut up a beef for them, half a beef, etc. I get phone calls where, hey, my neighbor's been telling me to come free for 2 years. I need to finally make an appointment and come try, etc. So we really haven't had to do much promotion and spend too much on that side of things. So I'm lucky on that standpoint. I mean, we're generally, before this COVID thing, we're always 3 to 4 months booked out here. This is supposed to be my not busy time. Every year about this time, I get down to about a month and a half. My August, September will be full before my July is. But and then I'll get up to 5 months booked out. This year, she was just different. Everything just got full within 3 weeks. It was kind of crazy, but going forward, promotion, it's gonna be that Facebook presence, finding somebody to have the time to do more of that. Social media type thing, maybe try to do Facebook live videos where I'm giving them a tour of my plant, or hey, here's what we're making today. Ida's on the stuff we're making brats. Here's our process. Trying to show people that, because we're in the meat industry. Nobody really understands what goes behind our closed doors. And I'm open. I'll give you a tour. Come see what we do. I'm going to try to give a tour of the new place before we're actually in it doing anything to everybody in the local area. because they've been talking about us for over a year and a half now about doing this, and everybody's excited to see it. But it's just showing people stuff, getting it out there, being a little different. I joke, I don't know if anybody really has competition these days, as busy as everybody is. Maybe they do a little more on the eastern side of the state where they do get them a little bit closer to each other. But out where we're at, I mean, we're far and few between. There probably needs to be a few more of us to where we don't have to go looking for the business, luckily.
Well, that's excellent. And doing things right, that promotes that next buy. So you must be doing a lot of things right. Hannah, talk a little bit about how you promote your company.
So we are only based online. We don't have a retail store. So pushing multimedia outlets to push people to our website has been a big thing. I did not have a lot of marketing knowledge when I first started this company. So I started listening to audibles and reading other books and podcasts of all of these people who have great marketing advice for social media and building online presence for e-commerce. And so that's really what I started doing, and push. Our biggest ones are Facebook and Instagram, but we also have Twitter, and Pinterest has been a big one as well. So that's a huge percentage of my role, is doing the marketing to drive people to our business. It's been a huge learning curve, and like Ace said in the beginning, I didn't have time for it. It was hard to figure out like the efficiencies to make it less time consuming, but that is where our customers find us and find our story. I have really been focused on not sharing products and just the business, but my life too. So it's more of like a lifestyle business is what it's usually called, but people can celebrate as we make our big accomplishments and know that I'm the face behind the company. This is my dad, this is my mom, kind of thing. And people really do like to see the behind the scenes. Yeah.
Well, that sounds excellent. So I asked Ace earlier, but do you provide recipes?
Yes, I do. I have a whole blog section on the website and a recipe section. So I'm not the one who normally makes the recipes, but I do find good ones and then repost them on our site.
Okay, that sounds good. Hey, we got a couple of questions that did come in. One from Travis wants to know, Ace, what's your favorite type of pig to process at the locker?
Well, I know Travis. I've met him. I should probably say any type of pig Travis raises. But it don't matter too much. Favorite type, favorite breed, as long as they're not really, really big. We're getting pigs big these days. We're doing pigs that are 330 to 400 pound live weights. Some people bring in. It's like a beef. The bigger the pig gets, the harder it is to cut him up, etc. I should probably go the other way. The pig we don't like to process the most is, and I'm a giant supporter of it, they just don't have the meat quality behind a lot of the genetics they're using in the show pigs. We do an awful lot of 4-H show pigs. I'm a supporter of it. Go buy a 4-H pig from a local 4-H'er to use it. As far as a meat scientist, the meat quality behind show pigs, for the most part, isn't quite there to where you get a lot of purge out of them and stuff, and they make your board a little messier while you're cutting them, etc. But still keep supporting them 4-H kids so they got projects. And I got a motto: you call and need a 4-H pig done during 4-H season, I try not to say no to you for the most part. And of course this year I'm going to probably have to disappoint some people because I got phone calls coming from 2.5 hours away because their locker's filled up. They can't get the 4-H pigs done, and I just said, hopefully if they get me in this new place, we'll get your 4-H pigs done for you, but we'll see what happens.
Good. Appreciate you supporting the kids out there. We've got a question came in for Hannah. Hannah, have you changed anything with your cattle nutrition program since starting Oak Barn Beef? Any tweaks to further improve the customer eating experience?
We haven't made any huge changes. The biggest thing is that we hadn't finished a lot of cattle. We were mainly a cow-calf operation. And so in the beginning, we really realized how important that backgrounding is for those cattle to grow and get bigger. Ours were kind of short and squatty for the first year, but we do a corn-fed diet that we work with the nutritionist to do. They're on a self-feeder too, so that's just what works for our operation, and it does create great marbled beef. We probably do finish our cattle a little bit. They're pretty fat by the time they go in, but that's just part of the premium product that we're hoping to have. And we do also watch the marbling scores that we get back from that DNA test to see which cattle need to be on feed longer and which ones have that natural marbling.
Well, that sounds really good. Hannah, why don't you tell us a little bit about, so now you've got the order and you're getting the product together. So how does it get to the customer? Delivery methods.
So we mostly ship our beef we use a biodegradable insulated box. That's something that's important to our customers and us. So we try to stay away from the styrofoam coolers, and then we use a combination of dry ice too. We ship UPS, and then we also offer local pickup locations. So my parents' farm is centralized towards Omaha and Lincoln, so that allowed me to have pickup locations once or twice a month in each city. So that helps with the local customers, making it a little more reasonable for them. I'm actually pairing with Zipline Brewing for our next pickup on June 6th, and they're offering a discount for our customers. So I think there's just ways to get creative, and even though I don't have a brick and mortar store, I still try to make it available and kind of fun for our customers.
That sounds like fun, Hannah. Ace, anything, do they all pick everything up at your facility, or do you do anything special as far as delivery?
We'll ship you something retail wise. We got a few people that'll call in. We put together retail orders, but we don't ship a lot of stuff, so we can't get a very good deal on shipping yet. So that's kind of tough until we get to doing more of that. Otherwise, no, we're kind of stopping and pick it up. Try to help you out as much as we can, meet you after hours if we really have to, and the right Saturday for customers if needed be, we can do that as well. Or once in a while, we got people traveling back and forth all over, and certain people, good customers, and go, hey, we've done this a couple times. You're driving through this town. I'm going to give you a few extra packs of bacon if you can stop at this gas station and give this guy's meat. Because we a lot of local beef here and stuff, but families in this area got kids living in Omaha, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Ames, Iowa. And so it's getting meat to them sometimes can be the tricky thing of being able to open on a weekend if mom and dad don't have enough space in their freezer to store it for them until they come back to get it. But shipping costs more money than you think. Start shipping this stuff. Hannah knows all about that probably, but I'm sure she's shipping enough now. She gets a little better deal. But
you get some good deals, Hannah?
It's a hard process to figure out. The whole shipping meat is, and in the beginning, we were actually UPS next day airing all of our shipments to the coast, which we got down to a $69 flat fee that the customer paid. But right now it's like $120 to ship it there. So we switched to ground shipping our product. And I see in the question box, what's the price point per pound for frozen to ship? And that really depends. It doesn't necessarily go on a per pound basis, but I would say our cost to ship around the United States ground shipping is on average $25. And that's ground shipping, so that doesn't include the price for dry ice and those insulators and other things, but it really depends on who you're working with and your location too.
Good, thanks. Thanks, Hannah. Got another question up here for Ace. How long have you been in the process of getting your new facility up and running?
Oh, I'd probably say a good 2 years from the time we really started getting serious about it. We broke ground on it this last fall in September. They started moving. It was the only September, October didn't rain here for some reason. If it kept raining like it did the rest of the summer, we probably still didn't get any dirt moved, but we were lucky it dried up for 2 months. We got the foundation put down. The building showed up in December, middle December, and they were a little weather-wise, they were a little behind getting that put in. So we'll get in from when the building showed up. I mean, they've done pretty good work. We'll get into it in less than 7-8 months on that. But the whole process, a good 2 years, because we didn't have this spot we're building it at. Currently, there was other options we were looking at, and then of course price. What's this thing going to cost to build? And it's not double what I thought it was going to be. The guy in Wyoming, I talked to him one time. He's like, "Oh, it was double what I really thought it was going to be." I'm a good 70% more, because no, you talk to guys, what it cost you this and that, and you have an estimation in your head. Well, heck, what they paid for steel 4 or 5 years prior is a totally different thing than what it is now. And so once we got some general quotes in off some architect designs of what it was going to cost, we did a big gulp. Okay, well, can we make it smaller? No, I don't want to make it smaller. Do I have to find an investor? I really don't want to find an investor. If we put this off a few more months, can we come up with enough to get it done yet? And that's kind of where we're at. We put her off a little bit, and which helped in the long run for a few things, but put her off for just a bit to make sure we had the funds available to get this thing done. But I'd say if you're thinking about doing one, get started on everything you can, because it just takes a little while, whether you need an architect or not, that stuff, and finding someone to build it. Obviously, these guys could probably handle it. They're just buildings. Jesse down there in Diller, where Hannah goes, he built his own. I think it took him over a year. For the most part, he did a lot of it in it. I don't have a contractor or building bone in my body. I built a doghouse in high school. That's about it. Never poured concrete. And so me wrapping my head around that and not understanding it, I don't. So I paid a really good local team here, Hackle Construction, their design build team. We took them for a tour in Diller and another place. And, you know, it's building stuff. They're not rocket scientists. It's just making sure you got stuff that makes your life easier when you're federally inspected and you think about flow and everything that, especially if you've never worked in them or stuff like that. Go tour as many as you can, take bits and pieces from everywhere you like. I'm still wishing I did stuff to mine, and we're about to be in it. But we thought ahead to where the building's built to totally double if we need to double. Got that idea from Jesse and Diller. He said, try to make your building a monoslope if you can. You can completely double that thing if you need to in the future. I got my freezer stuck in a corner. We can go out 2 different directions on that if we want to. We can come out any direction on the building, any which way in the future if need be. I joke, the kids can add on to it. By the time I pay this thing off, I'll let them do it. But just thinking about stuff. And if you're really thinking about building them, go get into them. Most of us guys in Nebraska, you tell us you're thinking about it and you want a tour, I don't think there's many of them that would tell you no, even if you're probably technically going to be competition next door. Come look at it. We'll tell you what we learned through the process, and that's how you learn certain things and what to do, not to do. And then again, you just got to go build it, make it your own too. But
Well, it sounds like you put a lot of thought into that. Are there any, tell us a little bit about the capabilities you're going to have with this new facility. Is it going to add some capabilities for you? Or
so the new facility, yes, we can double plus. I mean, it's built to do 20 plus carcasses a week at about a 21-day hang age on it. I'm big into aging. We can talk science behind me. We can talk a lot about aging. As a business owner, I fully get why certain lockers only age 8 to 10 days. It's a cash flow thing. They don't have the cooler space to do any longer than that. I get that. I probably would have walked away from this locker when we toured it if you didn't have fairly good sized coolers. Because when I started, I just said, I'll do a minimum of 14. Guarantee I'm going to get you a 14-day. You really need to try to get 14. We're getting pretty tender up to 14. After that, we're still getting tender. We're doing a flavor development thing as well. We're losing water weight, etc. And it's finding that line in there with your customer. No, I haven't, to this point, I haven't had to deal with customers like Hannah where they're trying to sell it retail then as well. So you're losing water weight as that carcass is hanging there. We got to find the perfect day range because you got to make up for that pricing it somehow, that water weight you're losing, and finding that price point that your customers are willing to pay for it. I mean, if you advertise a 30-day dry age stuff and you accommodate accordingly to how you're pricing it, you can sell the heck out of it, I'm sure. I'm big on aging. It makes beef taste better for most people. I've got some customers, they're used to a 10 to 14, no more than 14. We make sure we get it cut before that for them. So we'll be able to get the 20 plus beef if I can find the help. I'll smile with that if we can find the help. I've got her booked to what the current crew can do. If we can find help, we can grow it. If a guy shows up and has never run a knife before at all, which most people do when they apply to our places, it really takes about, for most people, 6 months before you can even tell they're down there on the end of the trim table doing anything. Once you got a year into them, you got something. 2 years, you're smiling, you're really doing something. In 3 years, you better not lose them because they can get paid doing something more somewhere else. Because it's hard work. You're in a cold environment. One thing I think a lot of us lockers got going for us, if we can get people interested in it again, we were a dying trade. We're just a trade. We never did require a 2-year degree to go become a meat cutter like they do electricians, plumbers, and that type of stuff. It's trying to find some young people that can see the opportunity in this. And I'm going to get in high school and start talking to kids and stuff. And whether they're go get a 2-year degree, come back. If a person just wants to live in small town Nebraska, I'd go get a 2-year degree in something you can do in small town Nebraska. You want to learn how to cut meat? You don't need a degree. Do you think you ever want to run one of these? Go get a 2-year business degree, because I wish I had a business degree. Then come back and I'll teach you how to cut meat, and eventually you can go off and own your own, build your own, etc. But with the size of the building, 20 plus beef a week if we can get it there. Again, room to expand to add on. A big emphasis on retail. We really did, because I mean, finding help's tough. If I built this thing 4 years ago, I know the business is there to do 40 plus a week, I think. I mean, it really would. But after running a business now for 5 years and dealing with help and finding enough help to do what you have to do, we build it so that if, heaven forbid, my main cut guy decides it's not for him no more next week, well, I can jump on the saw and make sure production stays up until we find somebody else. So we did an emphasis on the retail area because we live in a pretty good location. We get a lot of lake traffic to Calamus Reservoir up by Burwell, to where we get a lot of coming from Kearney direction, and then Grand Island direction, go right past the north side of Ord, funnel it right that direction. So we built a 900 plus square foot retail area that is going to look empty for the first couple of years, I bet. But we will grow into it eventually, and it's just trying to think of different things to sell through that, to where I'm telling people now, they don't even got to be meat related. You figure out, I mean, they cast iron pan would be cooking utensils or something. Figure out something that this small town don't offer. I will see if I can start selling it in here to try to grow that type of thing.
Well, that's good. A little follow-up question on that. Is there a range, like a starting wage range? Judy wants to know. And then after 2 years, you want to share anything like that, Ace?
I can. It's one thing. I'm the vice president this year, Nebraska Association of Meat Processors. Jesse Smith Down Diller's the president. And so it's a bunch of us. Not every locker in Nebraska is involved in it, but we get together once a year, have a convention, trade show, little processed meats competition. It's a good time. It's nice to talk to a lot of different guys. I got all this science background. I learned so much from guys that have been running these things for 30 years. I can talk science till I'm blue in the face, more about meat than you probably need to know. But it's a good learning experience. And that's always one thing. Everybody's always like, well, what are you paying? What do you start people at? And what you really take away from it is everybody's different, depends on your location. There's a guy in Amherst runs one. He says he has to start you at 15. He goes, whether you ran a knife or not, you start at 15 because I'm competing with industries in Kearney. And that is the starting wage for no matter if you know anything or not down there. So he's like, if I don't start you at 15, I'm not getting you. But it's anywhere from, give me a 18-year-old kid fresh out of high school that's not going to college. I'll probably tell him I'll start you at 11. Show me you can show up for the first 30 days and actually show up. I'll bump you to 12. And then after that, it's what you want to earn. Show me you're reliable. Show me I can trust you. Show me I can teach you new stuff, and I'll get you worth some money. I've got a slaughter guy. I pay him by the beef, by the pig, depending how fast he wants to go. He hasn't missed a day of work in 3 years besides for having a kid, and then he was really sick the other day, and I had to go back and brush off and remind myself how to slaughter 4 animals and I'm a little out of shape. But depending how fast he goes, he's worth 20 to 35 bucks an hour. And if he really gets to going, he cranked out 40 at one time. That's moving. He's a one-man show. I'm going to have to find him some help in the new place to do a little more if we need to, especially on inspection days. If you're a main guy in one of these places running a saw, every place will tell you different. But if you're my main cut guy running a saw, you potentially are worth $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year to me. If I can get that out of you. There's lockers that do it. There's other guys that'll tell you there's no way you can pay anybody like that. When I first bought this business, I think some of us, for not growing up in it, it's what do you charge? Well, from what the old owner was charging and what we were trying to do, I just couldn't pencil out paying anybody more than like 12 bucks an hour to stay in there and do stuff. Well, if you want good help don't show up for 12 bucks an hour. And so you got to get that somewhere. Your prices have to go up. You got to figure stuff out. You can try to push out more volume. Well, if you're going to burn somebody out because you got an extra 10 pigs to cut every week and they're making 12 bucks an hour, they're going to leave you eventually. So it's finding that line, but I don't think you can underpay good help. Now I'm still learning. Give me another 5 years. I'm going to learn more, but I don't think anymore your trim jobs are $10 an hour jobs. I mean, we don't like rolling through people. You just go through people, paying them 10 bucks an hour. And they got to like the environment and the people they work with as well to keep them. But I talked around that question. Did that answer close enough? I mean,
That answer is just fine. And highlighted some of the challenges today in business. They're definitely there with a lot of us. But I thought it was interesting. You've been you creative with the slaughter guy. That's pretty interesting there. We've got a question for Hannah that came up, and it has to do with your startup costs. Hannah, the question is, did you have startup costs, freezers or packaging, anything like that?
I tried to start as cheap as I possibly could, especially just being in college and getting started. I figured we mostly worked out of deep freezes for the first year, and we had 4 or 5 deep freezes, but those worked great for those times with small startup cost. Packaging was a huge startup cost for us because a lot of the companies, the one we purchased our packaging from had a 500 quantity minimum. And so I had to find a space for 500 insulators. And they actually ended up at my parents' house and me and my sister's old bedroom closets. So they're finally cleaned out. So my parents are celebrating. But the biggest thing I can say there is just try to start as little as possible and test the market. I know there's a huge increase right now for people wanting this beef, but there is a way to do it without that initial startup cost. So for example, when we did wholes, halves, and quarters of beef, we would mostly try to schedule delivery or pickup for that same day we picked up from the butcher. So we wouldn't have to store those in our own freezer. So I think just getting creative with some of that stuff, but my biggest cost to date still are the cattle and processing, feed, everything that goes into that. That's going to be the biggest chunk of that startup cost.
Hey, Hannah, another question from Jordan. He loved hearing about the biodegradable packaging. Is there anything else you're doing to be environmentally conscious?
The biggest thing are the biodegradable boxes, which are they look a lot fancier too. They have kind of like a silver lining around them, and it's kind of the wow factor of when you open your box. But those are the insulator, and then there is a cardboard box that goes around those. We do have a return your box program, so customers can send the boxes back to us so we can reuse them, and then after a certain point they get a discount or free beef in their next order. But other than that, I just share a lot about what mostly all ranchers do to try to be more sustainable. So a big thing that I do is share about is pasture rotation, and how our biggest focus is taking care of the land so it takes care of us. And that's a practice that a lot of farmers use. But my mission behind this was to put a face to the farmer and a positive face at that. So the more I can share about what all farmers do versus just our operation, and the sustainability that all ranchers focus on is something I really try to focus on.
Good. Hannah, another follow-up question for you is, and goes to the marketing. Would you describe your average customer? Any trends, age, gender, family size, education? Do you track any of that stuff? Suburban, rural?
Yeah, I think we have two target markets. One is going to be a mom who is very health conscious and wants to feel comfortable about what she's feeding her family and know the rancher. And our other is retired older men who like really good beef. And so that's two very different customer markets for marketing, but knowing which ones are which, we mainly focus on the older men who like the good beef on Facebook, and kind of the younger mothers who want to feel connected on Instagram.
Good, good. Okay, here's an interesting one, probably for Ace. Someone's always looking for bones for their dog. Is that something that is you sell or available?
Well, the legality side behind it, in order for me to sell you a bone from an animal we process through our facility, we have to be USDA federally inspected. So Jesse and Diller can sell bones out of his federally inspected stuff all day long. If I was to sell bones out of my place, I have to buy in boxes of bones, and then I can. But no, it's a thing. A lot of lockers that are federally inspected probably do, save certain ones, they have them. We will do it in our new place, and see where it grows into, because it's a thing. I mean, and it could be a thing where it could grow into, maybe we're supplying them to one of the local farm stores in the area to have on their shelf or something. But it's a deal. Use every part of that the food, pet, dog, cat industry is huge. It's there, to where I might think about making a snack stick for a dog someday. And I'm sure we'll use some pretty decent ingredients in it anyways, but I think there's opportunity for stuff like that as well in these facilities. But you still, to make pet food and that type of thing, you're still under certain regulations. You got to meet certain deals. So.
Okay, good, thanks. I think, and this is probably one of the fastest hours I've sat through for a long time. I think we want to kind of wrap it up with this last question. Hannah, how did you educate yourself in marketing through the social media? Is that something that your education helped you with, or how did you learn that process?
I started researching a lot of other companies when I wanted to start this business, and I found one out of Northern California that basically had my dream business. They shipped their beef, pork, and lamb nationwide, held retreats out on their ranch so people could come up from the Bay Area and get the farm experience, and mainly just marketed on social media. And I asked them if I could have an internship with them for the summer, and they accepted me. So I moved to Northern California and lived on their family ranch for the summer, and they taught me everything from shipping a perishable product to social media marketing. And it was a great experience that got me on the right foot. But other than that, I think everything I've learned has mostly been out of the classroom. It sounds like Ace has had some really great mentors through this process too, and it's absolutely the same with me. People are so willing to help and help. They're not directly competition. They're people. There's a big enough market out there that there's room for all of us, and I'm very thankful for those people who have helped me do that. And then in addition to that, podcasts and books have been very powerful for learning social media marketing and marketing overall.
Oh, excellent. A lot of homework and a lot of effort, and looks like it's paying off. You're doing things right. We will have a follow-up webinar to this one. It's kind of started the discussion, but we want to follow up and talk a little bit about smaller or regional processing facilities and what it takes to make that happen. So we'll be announcing that time and date here in the next week or so. We won't wait too long, but we will have that out on our social media campaign. Really want to thank you guys for being part of this webinar. A little commercial about CCS, or Central Confinement Services. We are a general contractor. We are all about the ag industry. We've done a lot of work in that area. We also do a lot of work on other construction. So if you do have opportunities for us to work with you, we would appreciate that. I think our contact information has been on the screen up there. So just give us a call. We have Tony, our beef specialist. Be happy to talk about beef, and Letty on the pork side of things. So we want to thank Hannah and Ace. Should it be Dr. Ace?
Nope. College dropout. Quit before I had the PhD.
Okay, I thought I missed something there. Okay, good deal. Well, we really appreciate you being a part of this webinar, and wish you continued success. Ace, I think I'll need to make a trip out there and see your new facility when that gets completed.
Yep, I'm here to answer questions.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I hope everybody who listened in is a little more enlightened on retailing business or the meat business. And we will wrap it up and wish everybody a good afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.